Today, we're diving into one of the most talked about and definitely one of the most controversial books on strategy ever written, Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power. You know, it's this ruthless look at the timeless principles that have really governed human interaction for centuries, and we're going to unpack its hidden rules right now.
So this is the big question the book really forces you to ask yourself. Because, let's be honest, whether we like it or not, power dynamics are all around us, at work, in our social circles, pretty much everywhere. The game is always being played. The only choice you really have is whether you understand the rules or not.
So what are we even talking about when we say power? Well, in this context, it's really just the ability to shape your world and influence the people in it. What Greene did was create this kind of hidden rule book by studying thousands of years of history, from ancient warriors to modern-day leaders, to figure out how this whole thing actually works.
All right, first up, let's get into the secret rules of power. This is all about that unwritten code that Greene says is running just beneath the surface of everything we do.
And this, right here, is maybe the most important idea in the whole book. See, ignorance isn't really bliss here. According to Greene, if you don't get how power works, you haven't opted out of the game, you've just become a pawn in it, and you'll almost certainly be controlled by the people who do understand the rules.
Now look, there is no way we can cover all 48 laws. That would take forever. So we're going to do what any good strategist would do. We're going to focus on the core ideas. We've grouped the most important laws into 3 key themes to give you a real look inside the playbook.
The first big theme is all about perception. It's this idea that power is often less about what you actually have and way more about what other people think you have. It's a game of appearances, reputation, and being super careful with information.
So let's see how these laws actually work together to manage an image. Take Law 1, never outshine the master. This isn't about being bad at your job. It's about making your superiors feel smart and secure so they see you as helpful, not as a threat. Then you have Law 3, conceal your intents, which basically keeps people guessing so they can't mess with your plans. And it all leads back to Laws 5 and 6. Your reputation and the attention you get are your most valuable currencies. It's a non-stop performance.
Okay, this next theme is a bit of a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people. Win through what you do, not what you say. Greene's point is that winning a debate might feel good in the moment, but it usually just creates resentment. Real power comes from getting results and influencing people on a much deeper, more psychological level. And this is where the strategy gets really fascinating. Law 9 is simple. Win through your actions. Show, don't tell. But maybe the most cynical and effective law here is Law 13. Appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy. Greene argues that people are way more motivated by what's in it for them than by any plea for help. It's a very subtle but powerful shift from arguing to truly influencing. Our final theme today is all about defense. See, not every law is about grabbing power. A lot of them are just about not losing the power you have. This is kind of the cautionary part of the playbook, designed to keep you safe in a really competitive world.
And these laws are basically critical warnings. Law 2, never trust friends too much, warns that envy often hides right behind friendship. Law 10 tells you to avoid unhappy people because their bad luck can rub off on you. And maybe the most important one is Law 18, which says that isolation is dangerous. Hiding in a fortress doesn't actually protect you, it just cuts you off from vital information, which makes you an easy target. The message is pretty clear. Stay vigilant.
Of course, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, the book's reputation. Is this thing a practical guide to the real world? Or is it, like a lot of critics say, a dangerous manual for manipulators? This is the big moral debate.
So on one side, you have critics who say the book is just cynical, amoral, basically a playbook for sociopaths that can be easily misused. But on the other side, supporters argue that it's an essential tool for self-defense. They'll say, look, Greene didn't invent these behaviors. He's just describing the reality of how the world often works, and you need to understand that reality to think strategically.
This quote really gets to the very heart of the book's defense. The argument is that knowing this stuff is a form of protection. If you can understand these tactics, you can recognize them when they're being used against you, and that allows you to defend yourself instead of just being a pawn in someone else's game.
So how should we approach all this? Well, the most constructive way is to think of this knowledge as a shield, not a sword. It's about being aware and defensive, not necessarily about going on the attack and manipulating people. And this is probably the most important distinction to make.
Greene isn't telling you this is how the world should be. He's giving you a cold, hard description of how it often is. It's kind of like a doctor giving a diagnosis. You can't protect yourself from a threat if you refuse to understand how it operates.
So what's the practical takeaway for you? It's really a three-step process. First, just observe. Start noticing these power dynamics playing out around you. Second, learn to recognize them. Use this knowledge to spot manipulation so you can protect yourself. And third, act with awareness. Make conscious, strategic choices instead of just reacting based on emotion.
Ultimately, the 48 Laws of Power kind of holds up a mirror to the hidden side of human ambition. It gives you knowledge, so the final question isn't really whether the laws are good or bad. It's, now that you can see the rules of the game, what's your next move?